toy.
We wanted men.
Somebody's got places to be and places to go, things to do. Welcome to episode 133 of the Smugglers Galaxy podcast, your favorite Star Wars podcast for smugglers in the galaxy. I'm Glenn, and with me this morning, every podcaster is like, with me as always is Jason. It's
Happy like, Tongs Day.
Yeah, Tongs Day. Tongs Day, huh?
Happy Tongs Day.
What is that? Is that straight from Mandalorian, or what is that from? Because they were saying that, and I don't understand all that. But
yeah, I did a quick deep dive because I was curious, and there are days of the week that are different from our days of the week. There's Prime Day, Syntax Day, Tongs Day, Zell Day, and Bendu Day. So they did say Bendu and Tongs Day.
Ah, you know what Bendu's a reference to?
Yeah. And then some locales have other names for the days of the week, including Thursday and Saturday. So I'm sure somewhere in EU, some author didn't know better, and they just said, it's Thursday, and I'll see you on Saturday.
Oh, that EU stuff. I'm sure they did. That's why they canceled it, because they had too many books to go back to.
Or they just wanted to start fresh and didn't want people like us saying, well, actually,
Well, yeah, that too.
I'm trying to think of something other than Heir to the Empire.
In I, Jedi, chapter 3, paragraph 5, the second line of the page says this, and you did that, and it's wrong.
Intrusive Bakura, they actually said this. I can't remember any other ones right now.
I've got a whole library of that stuff downstairs. I just haven't read any of it. I'm still trying to make my way through Heir to the Empire so we could do a podcast on it last month.
Yeah. I need to read that. I just finished Indiana Jones and the White Witch. I was over at Second to Charles. And they had this book, and I'm like, oh, it's like a vintage 90s Indiana Jones book. I'll read it, but it lacked the adventure. It didn't seem like Indiana Jones. I was just really disappointed with the book, but the cover looks really nostalgic.
Yeah, that looks great.
But it wasn't a good book.
That's sort of like we were talking in band practice the other day. It's like the Molly Hatchet album covers. They have like this Viking warrior on it. You think it's going to be like this awesome metal album, so you buy it and it's Southern rock.
Yeah, it's not. You're expecting Megadeth, and you get
Skinnerd.
Skinnerd.
Jeez. How's your week going, man?
Good. It went by fast. Crazy thing, like January comes around, like I normally have M&Ms before going to bed. January came around, I decided I'm going to be healthy.
Right.
I'm not going to eat M&Ms anymore. And I've had horrible sleep ever since then. So last weekend I bought some M&Ms because I'm about to go down Weight Watchers, and I'm like, this is the last hurrah. I have slept so well this week. My body's chemistry needs that sugar at 8 o'clock. And if it doesn't, I result in like horrible sleep.
Maybe you cut the M&Ms that you're eating in half or something, or
maybe.
Are you eating a whole bag, or is it just like 2 or 3?
No, it's not. It's not 2 or 3. Maybe it's a whole bag, but like a normal whole bag, not like like the family size share pack.
Right.
But how was your week?
It wasn't too bad. It's work, it's everything. It was good. I was still trying to, like I said, shoot. I'm sure people are tired of hearing it. We're in the final stages of getting the house back together. So if you ever want to, remodel your house, remember it's going to take you months to get that thing put back together. I went on another podcast last night to talk about my band.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's like Atlanta original music podcast. I'm such a bad guest. But yeah, we went.
Bad guest.
Yeah.
You're a better host than guest.
Yeah, I'm a better host. It was Atlanta original music Atlanta is what it's called. It's just my old drummer and his new guitar player have this podcast. So went on there and talked about the band last night. So if you want to hear me talk about my band, look that podcast up.
Awesome.
But we had it was funny because it started off as me and another guy, and then me and my guitar player, and then my lead singer came on, and then the other guitar player came on, and we were like, wait a minute, because I know doing podcasts, when you get more than like 4 people in a Zoom chat, it's a cluster, and we had like 6, and it got to be sort of a cluster, but managed chaos, so it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, you have to be careful because it gets to the point where you can't keep track of voices, but then you never want to make it seem like you're having more fun talking than the listener is listening, if that makes sense.
Right. You don't want to be like, yes, I tuned my guitar to this and I use these frequencies and these. Yeah. People don't want to hear that kind of stuff.
I have been but not me.
Yeah.
I've been getting ready for Toylanta.
Yeah.
And I started making the banner stands for our banners.
Yeah.
So those are almost done. But I had a dream last night so it's Saturday morning for us, and the first day of Toylanta is Friday. So like this week, I'm just like, okay, next Friday, I have to, do this and this and get ready for that. Make sure when I leave in the morning, I have everything because I'm going straight from work to Toylanta. It's on the other side of town, so there's traffic issues. So like I'm going through this like in the back of my mind all week long. Last night, I had a dream that you had called me because I completely missed Toylanta. Like yesterday was Toylanta, and I completely flaked. And I'm just like, I woke up this morning like, how did that happen? How did I have a dream about that?
I kind of had the same thought last night too, because not last night. As I was leaving work yesterday, my boss is giving me grief. He's like, "You got any toy stuff going on this weekend? Any Star Wars stuff?" And I'm like, "No, that's next weekend. We got a big toy show." And we talked about it for a minute. And as I'm walking out, I'm like, "Wait a minute. What if that was this weekend?"
No, it's next weekend. You're good.
I think we've got enough stuff planned that we would have talked about it and we would have remembered. So there's no way we're going to miss Toylanta.
No, we're not going to miss Toylanta. That's like the biggest toy thing of the year. Besides the Georgia Alliance of Star Wars Collectors Toy Show on May 13th.
Well, I think Toylanta may be a little bit bigger.
But this is just as exciting.
Yes, it is. It is.
I missed Lucas this week, unfortunately. He was in town.
Did you go by Second Chance?
Yeah, I went by Second Chance. He left some micro machines for me, like one of the episode 1 ones. It's the pack with the Emperor, which is cool because I have the paint sample of that one.
Oh, nice.
So this is the first time I actually have the production version. But yeah, I bummed that we couldn't meet up, and he should be coming back soon. So hopefully we can make that work. It was just a matter of I was working, and then I had to take my daughter to orthodontist, and then he had to get on the plane. So
freaking orthodontist and planes. And
yeah. And then Jordan this week asked me to pick up the Black Series Jesse. It was part of the Walmart Collector Con thing. And that was frustrating as hell to get because Yakface said people were getting it, but then based on your zip code, it was blocking you from completing your order.
What?
Yeah. So some people were able to order it. Some people weren't. I was trying to get it for him. It took me about 20 minutes, and then I decided, I have other things to do. And when I say 20 minutes, I was going back and forth between work and trying to get this thing. It wasn't 20 minutes straight of trying to get this thing. Anyone from work's listening. And it was finally at lunchtime that I was able to order one. So, but it was just so frustrating because it's like 2023, you're trying to compete with Amazon. Get your crap together.
Yeah. It was funny watching the text messages between the two of y'all. So in the chat.
I finished my Tonica sisters. I'm moving on to other characters, and I'm like, how do I make a whir, which is the bartender? And I noticed Sala from the Indiana Jones Adventure series. He might make a good one. But I think I'm just going to wait for that whole line to hit Ollie's.
Yeah. You don't want to pay $25 for something and bust it open and beat it up.
Yeah. So I think it's gonna have to wait, but I think that's what I'm gonna do. I think that's what my thoughts were this week.
Cool.
The
Yeah.
only other thing.
Go ahead.
Well, you go.
Well, no, I was just gonna say I need to make my way to Second Chance to pick up my gift from Lucas too, because he a couple of years ago he gave me a TED, or actually, yeah, I get them all confused, and I shouldn't.
Yeah, it's your thing.
Yeah, it's my thing. He gave me a TED, which is the Keanu Reeves figure, and then he gave me a bill. He left it up at Second Chance. He painted some stormtroopers, some Black Series stormtroopers. So
yeah, he customized them to look like Bill and Ted.
Yeah, like the Kenner figure. So yeah, I need to get over there. And my daughter like texted my wife, "Oh yeah, I'm at Second Chance," and I'm like, "Why didn't somebody tell me?" She could have picked that up for me, but I'll go tomorrow or later today. We'll see.
I was talking to someone last week. I don't want to incriminate them, and I had the idea popped in my head, because we always joke about Funko not being worth anything.
Yeah.
And there was the whole like $30 million worth of Funko is just going to be dumped into a dumpster because no one wants to buy it. But at the same time, it's sustained. Like there's collectors who collect Funko, and there are some that have value. And it's been going. But what if Black Series is what we always thought Funko would eventually become?
Wow.
Because when you look at the aftermarket prices, no one's buying it. The only thing that sells are the loose, cheap ones. And maybe it's not going to become that level, but maybe it is. Like they're not holding value. I don't know. Maybe Hasbro shot themselves in the foot by repeating and repacking and reusing and retooling.
Yeah. That's an interesting thought, because it is, you're right. It's the stuff that people are buying cheap. They don't want I think we've kind of programmed ourselves as collectors to wait for clearance, because it happened with the TIE Fighter. It was a $160 piece, and then you could find that at clearance for under $100 if so I think we've done that to ourselves, and Hasbro's done it too. So yeah, I could see that. And it sucks, but it's also, we also tell people don't collect for an investment, collect because it's what you want. And if you were collecting Black Series as an investment and it falls through, I mean, that's kind of it. It's on you, but it's also, it's a risk you take.
Collect what you love, but don't expect a windfall at the end of the line for Black Series, because it's probably not going to happen.
Right. I mean, there's some pieces that the exclusive stuff like the Thrawn, and the exclusive Thrawn, the exclusive Boba Fett, that stuff's still holding value. Yeah. I can't believe I saw somebody sell one of those Thrawns for a couple of $100, which blew me away.
Yeah, that's like 175.
Yeah, I paid
I regret not picking up.
Yeah, I paid like $50 for mine a few years ago. I was at a toy shop that was in the process of moving or unpacking, and they let me dig through their stuff, and they had a Thrawn, and I picked it up. I was like, "How much you want for this?" They were $50. I was like, sold, because I tried buying it from Hasbro Pulse, and of course, your typical. It's in your basket. You're putting your credit card information in, and by the time you get done with it, they're like, "Oh, it's sold out. Thanks."
Yeah. Did you pick anything up this week?
I am waiting for a package from CAS.
Uh-huh.
My Wampa finally graded. It's supposed to be in here today. The FedEx is giving me a window between 10/20 and 2/20, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, they said about 6 months, and it's been right at 6 months. It graded a 70, which I wasn't expecting it to grade high because it is in pretty rough shape, but I wanted to grade it to keep it intact because it is a sealed box. And so that should be here. And of course, it's signature required. So thankfully they sent it to me on a Saturday. I'm surprised they're doing a Saturday delivery for it, but that'll help me out because I can just hang out here and wait for it.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll get a live unboxing.
Oh, we'll see. Maybe
see.
This episode will have a plot twist halfway through. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm holding out for Toylanta, man. I got some, and I'm trying to. I was gonna think like, what kind of game can we play with Toylanta? Because it's always fun when you turn something into a game. Because I turned to Conyers Toy Show a couple of years ago. I just brought stuff to trade, and you end up walking out of there with a Barada because you end up trading so much that you can walk out of there with a last 17 figure. And I'm like, well, maybe I'll just bring like $100 to Toylanta and keep myself to that and see what happens.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't know. I'm not expecting to find anything too crazy, but we'll see.
Yep. Yeah, I'm just looking for Black Series Jawa, that Tebow.
Yeah.
Not Tebow. Tika? The Jawa from Obi-Wan, because that one could be customized for a Canteen alien.
And I'd like to see a Sabine TIE fighter in the flesh, in person. That's not saying that I'm going to buy it, because I have a feeling if it's going to be there, they're going to want high eBay prices, which I have seen them start to go for. Their prices on those are starting to drop, so that the market's cooling on those a little bit, but they're still going for over $100, $100 to $150 is what they're.
That's better than $500.
Right.
My humble opinion.
Yeah, somebody had sold one of the hologram TIE fighters. It was only 500 made for 500, and somebody in one of the groups were like, "Man, if you want mine for 500, I'll throw in some unproduced figures too."
Sold.
Yeah,
I'll take that.
Yeah, and I'm thinking it's the Kylo Ren thing you've got. Yeah.
Oh, the Micro Machine playset.
Yeah. I think that's what he said he had. So it was like, maybe I should
tag Jason into this. Missed that post. I do have some Jazzwares news, but before we get into news real quick, I just want to announce that the Hoagie Bros food truck will be at the Georgia Alliance of Star Wars Collectors Toy Show on May 13th. So bring empty stomachs and bring your extra cash so you can buy yourself a sandwich.
Yeah, they make some badass sandwiches, and he's funny. The guy's funny. He's one of those guys. He's just shy of the soup Nazi, but he's not mean.
Yeah.
So you're sitting there cooking, and he's giving you crap and giving everybody crap because he has a lot of regulars, and he makes a damn good sandwich.
Yeah. So come on by.
Yep.
So Maxwell Lux from Jazzwares was on the NostalgicAdam YouTube channel. They did a 2-hour live stream, and they talked about a bunch of things. Quickly wrote down a couple of those items. Max is funny because if you get him on there long enough, he'll hint at something, but then later on he'll start telling you what he was hinting at. So
yeah,
I'm just going to kind of go in order to try to capture the magic of Max talking. Distribution issues started the conversation. They're trying to find innovative ways to get chases out. That's all he's going to say. He's going to go and find out if 5,000 of items have actually been made, because what they do is they'll case pack and then they'll finish that order. And so they'll distribute the chases and the rare ones in some of those packs, but not all of them. But they might not have made 5,000. They might have only made 2,500. They might have only made 3,000 because they've got their giant case order with all of Series 1, all of Series 2 ordered. So he's going to go back. He's going to triple check to make sure that number is true. Sometimes they underproduce based on the cases. If that's the case, he's going to try to find other ways to get things like the Sabine TIE Fighter out. So if they've only made 4,000, because that's, they needed 20,000 boxes, and based on the way that they mix things in, there's 1,000 left of those Sabine TIE Fighters. He's going to try to find a way to get those out there, those extra 1,000.
Yeah, I'd be happy with.
But he said, look for some sort of announcement in July. So he does tell us what he's thinking about this innovative idea to get chases out. So I'll get to that in just a second. Stores have already committed up to Series 4 right now. He said the problem is they need to clear out Series 1. And he says this is a problem with every toy line when you launch it, that you don't know what the magic number is. You can dial it in after you've got all your numbers out there and you see how it's selling. So for Series 2 and Series 3, they're able to say, well, we made 20,000, but we only need 10. Well, the problem right now is they've had an extra 10,000 sitting on the store shelf. So they need to get rid of those so they can get Series 2 out, they can get Series 3 out. And the numbers should be better dialed in now, so we shouldn't see the store shelves clogged with all these items. I also have to say,
I hate to, but that's what we were talking with our buddy Kelly about, and he nailed it right on the head. It's like he's kind of thinking, well, maybe Target's holding stuff in the back room. The local Targets are, because they got all this stuff on clearance, and Walmart's got to be, because Walmart shelves are just jam-packed full of that stuff. They way over-ordered Micro Galaxy Squadron.
Yeah, so they have to work with stores now to figure out how to mark things down and try to clear things out. So it's a whole thing that they're working through right now, but they are getting there. What was the thing I was going to say? It might come back to me.
Sorry.
It's all good. The Pod Racer is series 1 of the Battle series. It's not part of series 1, so it's kind of a leap. It's tough to make the distinction. But there's series 1, and then there's series 1 of the Battle series.
Okay.
So that's why it says series 1 on it.
I love, they were like, how the hell did I get to New Zealand? I have no clue. So
yeah,
they don't even know how New Zealand got those before everybody else did.
He had no clue how Macy's got the Marauder either. He's just like, this is beyond me. It's a Target exclusive. It'll drop on April 23rd, 22nd, 24th.
Mm-hmm.
So the Marauder is coming. If you're worried that you have to spend $250 on eBay, just hold off because it is a Target exclusive. It is coming. That's part of the reason why I didn't buy it at Macy's, because it was overpriced. Talking about the Battle series real quick, he mentioned the Battle of Carcoon.
Okay, which one's that one?
That's the one over the Sarlacc pit.
Ooh.
So I'm like, is that a barge situation, or is that just 2 skiffs? Like, what does that look like?
Sarlacc pit that you can dangle skiffs over?
Maybe. We'll see.
Ooh.
The 25th anniversary you mentioned of the Phantom Menace is next year. There's a possibility that we'll get more pod racers. You kind of have to read between the lines when he talks, but it sounded like if we were to do that, it would be next year during the 25th anniversary. He said they recently went through a brainstorming session and looked at every possible ship they could ever make. And they even watched Droids, the old cartoon.
Wow.
And there was one designer who's like, we need to make this ship. But it only appeared in one episode of Droids. And he said the problem with things like that is his favorite ship from Series 1 is the Asajj Ventress ship, which is peg warming. And he admitted that it's too deep of a cut, that it's just not selling well. And so that's the challenge when you're doing deep cuts like that. Yeah, it's fun, but at the same time, they don't sell well. It's not an X-Wing. So there's a good chance that we probably won't see anything from Droids. I mean, it would be cool if they made the White Witch, which is a legendary toy, but it's just probably not going to happen.
No, because we would be the only ones that would be excited to see it.
Yeah. Wave 4 and 5 will be revealed at Star Wars Celebration London. It won't be live streamed, but they're hoping to record it.
I'm so jealous. I want to go to Celebration just to see that.
They have paint samples that they are going to show off for Series 5. They don't have anything production yet. He said Wave 4 is a big wave. It's supposed to be the Fall 23. Fall toy waves are huge. Those are the big pushes. It's the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi, so I feel like this is going to be like a Return of the Jedi wave. But I'm guessing, he said, whatever the class the Millennium Falcon is, we're going to get another one of those size classes. So I'm thinking it's going to be the Imperial Shuttle.
Okay. Oh, so 40th anniversary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, the way that they described Celebration, it looks like they finally got their act. I mean, not that they didn't have their act together last Celebration, but he was describing that they're going to have like a case with the glass, the tempered glass that you can't see through. And then like all of a sudden, at one point during the day, one of the cases will open up and you'll be able to see everything. And I'm like, doggone it. Why couldn't you done that in California? And there again, I think California was just rushed, and London, they're taking their time with. But should we tell them what the secret code word is? Did you catch that?
Yeah, I did. I've already told Narayan.
Yeah, you already told Narayan, get something. So if anybody's going to Celebration London and you walk up there and go beep boop, they'll give you something. And if you want to ship it to one of us, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a blind pack with a Star Wars Celebration London sticker on it, but just tell them that you watched the Nostalgic Adam live stream and you know the secret password for the exclusive, and it's beep boop.
Beep boop. So yeah, that's what he said. He said it might be a little bit more exclusive. It sounded like it might have been like a special paint scheme of of a speeder, But then he also said it's probably just going to have the Celebration London sticker on it. So it's some kind of way it's an exclusive to Celebration London.
San Diego Comic-Con will have exclusives this year.
Ooh.
He kind of hinted at a Battle of Hoth pack, like those multi-packs they were doing, a Snow Speeder and an ATST.
Okay.
No word if they're doing an AT-AT, but that would be pretty huge and expensive. He said Wave 4, which is that wave that's releasing this fall, will be the next vehicle to have lights and sounds. I'm wondering if it's the Imperial shuttle. Should be cool. I don't know what else. What else big Millennium Falcon size would be in there?
I don't know.
Okay.
The Ghost.
It's not in Return of the Jedi, guy.
It's not in Return of the Jedi. Yeah, you're right. If you're going to go Return of the Jedi, then it has to be the Imperial shuttle that would be that big. Yeah. I mean, and an AT-AT would be too big, I think.
And it's not. Yeah. I mean, there isn't one in Return of the Jedi, but I don't know. Maybe that's it. Because then they could just reuse that for Hoth.
Yeah, it'd have to be an Imperial shuttle. I mean, I'm racking my brain. Yeah, I don't know what they would put Return of the Jedi unless they're going to do. No, because the skiffs don't have lights and sound, right?
No, not really. And they're too small. Like you want something Millennium Falcon size.
See, that's what throws me off is you forget that it's to scale. So a skiff would be a couple of inches.
It is, but it isn't. They said that the gauntlet, they had to scale down. Otherwise, it would just be too big to make.
Right.
But there's fighters that size because there's different scales, different size gauntlets.
Mm-hmm.
So it is true, but it isn't true at the same time. Disney Parks came to Jazzwares with an idea, and Max was so excited.
Ooh.
So they want to do more in the parks. I'm hoping for Star Speeder 3000 or 2000
That'd
from
be cool.
Star Tours. That would be my jam with a little Rex in there. So that'd be cool. Or maybe the escape pod that you fly out with, but that would be really small, I guess, for Rise of the Resistance.
Yeah.
Looking forward to future releases with stands. He mentions specifically Return of the Jedi Boba Fett starship. I was curious why he was so specific to mention Return of the Jedi's Boba Fett starship, but I'm wondering if that's because it's the 40th anniversary and it's coming already.
Maybe. They better put a stand with it because those things are sitting on the shelf.
Interestingly, he says a price announcement is coming spring 2024, contrary to what's happening in the toy industry. So does that mean prices are going down for this?
Well, I mean, he also said that, when like with the battle pack, with the LAT battle packs, they announced them at close to $40 and then Target sells them at $30.
Mm-hmm.
When they announce a price, it's just a MSRP. Target can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
So maybe they're thinking, you know what, if Target's willing to sell it for 30 and it's selling, or maybe they'll do a price drop. It might be a way to get those things to sell too, because maybe people are, it does scare me seeing them sitting on the shelves. Maybe they'll decrease the prices on the big packs, on like the Millennium Falcon and stuff.
Yeah, he talked about the sales pattern, I guess, for this line of vehicles where there's a big bump. Everyone's buying it for Series 2, but then afterwards, it's like, how do you maintain and sustain that growth? How do you get people on the other side, on the downward trend of people buying it? They stop buying it. They need kids to get into it. So it's like, how do you get that? So they had discussions internally at Jazzwares about that. He didn't really mention the strategy itself, but he did say that they're talking about a strategy to keep things sold.
Right. I think it's it's hard for somebody to spend $30 on a Millennium Falcon for their kid. 20, they're probably going to do it. 30, You're thinking about. 20, you're like, yeah, sure, whatever, kid.
Yeah, I agree. So that's the reason why I never got the Millennium Falcon as a kid. It was just too expensive, but I can get little figures.
Right.
He kept hinting at exclusives. There's possibly 2 Amazon exclusives. He's interested in a Death Star. He didn't come right out to say no, so I think they're trying to figure out the Death Star, but I don't understand how they could do that to scale other than maybe it's just a flat piece of the Death Star.
Yeah, unless they do something like the micro collection, where it's
Micro Machines.
Micro Collection, old school.
And he mentioned the Micro Machine playset, the Death Star that pulls apart the Tatooine.
Oh, okay. Or something like that too. I'm sorry, I forgot that they did that, where you had like the head or the thing that looked like a Death Star, and then it did something else.
Well, that's right. He talked about it on our podcast, and he said like that's the only time Baru and Uncle Owen were featured as skeletons in a toy form.
Right. Yeah, because he was like, "What's the weirdest toy you've ever seen?" And that came up.
So I wonder if he was talking about the Death Star then at Jazzwares, and that's why it was fresh in his mind.
Maybe, but something like that would work, because you could actually make like the trench run. Well, no, that would have to be huge. Never mind. I'm thinking micro action fleet, the little bitty ships. They had big ships. There's no way that'd be huge if you did a Death Star run with those.
So you remember at the start of this news segment, I talked about him saying there's going to be like an innovative way to collect the chases and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
Would you pay extra to get everything in one giant box?
If it's affordable, maybe.
Limited to like 200 pieces. So I'm wondering if this is like a $500 thing.
Ooh.
There's no price attached to it. The only thing he threw out was limited to 200 pieces. But I think it would be everything, like, for example, in Series 2, you would get everything in Series 2, including all the blind packs. You would get all the chases and rarities.
Wow.
Trying to total out everything in my mind, you're probably spending about $200 maybe for a series in total.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd pay $5. I mean, if you're paying $2 just to do it, and then you're going to pay an extra $300, no. But if if it's the same price, I would do it.
Yeah, it would be at an elevated price of some sort. There would be a specialized price point. You would get like some sort of letter signed by the entire toy manufacturing team, the toy team that created the thing. And my wife asked me last night, would you do that? Isn't the hunt part of the fun? And I'm like, I've been hunting this Sabine TIE fighter for 2 months now. If I could just buy it for a couple $100 and be done, I'm in.
Right.
The chase, the thrill, the hunt isn't there anymore. Just give me the dang thing.
It is so gone for me. I've passed so many targets where I'm like, I'm just done. I can't, I'm passing a target right now. No, dude, no, I'm done.
No, it's probably not going to be there.
Yeah. But yeah, the thrill of the hunt's totally gone on this for me. It's just
a bummer.
Yeah, it sucks that it is, because you're like, yesterday I'm passing a target and it's like, I'm just done because I stopped because of my job. If I pass one, I can stop because I'm on the road, and it gets annoying.
And he did announce that we're getting a land speeder, but he didn't say how, and he said it might be rare. So we'll see, but that's coming too.
Well, wouldn't the land speeder be about the size of a blind pack?
I think so.
I think he hinted with us that the land speeder would be a blind pack.
I can't remember. I can't remember everything.
You were so excited after that. You were just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You sounded like a little kid.
I am. I'm still 12 years old inside. According to Deadline, Willow will not return for season 2. Disney is cutting back on shows. They're delaying movies. They're cutting costs. I mean, look what's happening with some of the Avengers stuff. They've delayed that for a while. So this isn't a surprise. I've said all I needed to say about Willow. I know there's people who love it. I shared it on the Georgia Alliance group. There's a lot of people who loved it. There's a lot of people who, like me, didn't like it. So, if you like the show, I'm sorry. If you didn't like the show, the bleeding is ending.
Well, I heard that they also were like, oh, we're just delaying it. I'd like to see the story end instead of just being like, oh, this is what we're leaving you on a cliffhanger. But then again, I don't remember what the cliffhanger was.
Yeah, like there was another version of her in the Worm World.
Oh, yeah.
And the kid from Spider-Man was trapped there.
Okay.
So Flash Thompson, I forget his name in the show. But yeah, and so like storytelling wise, tell your story, leave some threads, but don't do cliffhangers unless it's the second season.
Mm-hmm.
Like Empire Strikes Back. Like They should have just told the story and wrapped it up, because there's no promise that there's going to be season 2 or 3. So I don't think they did that right. But
Right.
you're going to like this next one. Filoni spoke to IO9 this week, and when he asked, did you see this clip? This quote. When he asked if he knew Rebels would play out over the Mandalorian, he said, "At the time I did the epilogue of Rebels, I had an idea of what the story would be, and it was definitely so. All of that, just to answer your question, I would say yes. It was definitely an option in my mind that this could be live action going forward."
Yeah. I truthfully, I have a feeling the way Mandalorian's playing out that you're going to round a corner and there's going to Ahsoka will pop up or Sabine will be there. Or we're going to see some Rebels. They've got to do a better tie-in. We got another show coming up in 6 months, and you guys have got to be ready for it. Type situation.
Yeah, you have to decide what's best for the story, and I think we found, whatever my story is about in Ahsoka, I'm very pleased.
Nice.
So that does kind of connect that this might be Rebel season 5.
Ahsoka or Mandalorian?
For Ahsoka, it's Rebel season 5.
Yeah.
I
got a big smile on my face for people watching or people listening on the.
And to answer the question, he said, and I didn't know John would be doing the Mandalorian at the time when I did that epilogue. That was all in motion, but I didn't understand Ahsoka's role in it, certainly. Mm-hmm. But I do know that this time period, because I grew up a lot with the expanded universe material in it, so I think that's going to be an influence on what the future holds for the existing post-Return of the Jedi world. So look for a lot of that EU stuff. Remember that Gilad Pellaeon was in Star Wars Rebels. He is the second in command to Thrawn in the Heir to the Empire trilogy. It was the Major Commander Pellaeon. I don't. Pellaeon.
I'll have to pay attention when I break back out my book.
Yeah, he had like a quick cameo in Star Wars Rebels. So he was on Thrawn's ship, but he's also an Heir to the Empire. And I'm wondering if that's who Ray Stevenson plays in Ahsoka. He plays his character from Heir to the Empire. Which would be awesome.
Yeah. No, I did see it. Maybe the same article where I just glanced over it and how they were like, yes, a live action, something's going to happen where Ahsoka and Mandalorian and maybe even Andor all kind of tie together. It was Book of Boba Fett all tie together sometime.
Yeah. Filoni also spoke to the Wrap this week. He talked about all of this heading towards a climactic story event on Disney+.
Wow, I just talked about that.
Yeah,
go for it.
He says it's interesting, a way to think about it. I tend to think, as we've been working on The Mandalorian and then writing Ahsoka, and then John Watts came in with the Skeleton Crew, there's an entire time period that is post-Return of the Jedi, and I look at this time period, which before The Force Awakens is around 30 years of time. When you look at the original trilogy, it's much less significant amount of time than those 3 movies take place in. So what I like is that we're really building very slowly an ecosystem of characters and politics and events in the post-Return of the Jedi time period, and that may or may not expand into a bigger way as we add more shows to it and more characters to it. The good thing is that we're all talking creatively together about where these stories are going. I love whiteboards. I whiteboard everything, and I have timelines. They always start back with the Phantom Menace, and they always go out to the Rise of Skywalker. Wow. I have all these slots in between where everybody's doing everything, so I can take a look and commiserate with Kathleen Kennedy on what's going on here, what's going on there. It's very fun.
I'd love to see one of those whiteboards, man. Wow. You imagine that what's on there, the nerd stuff? We can nerd out watching one of those.
Thrawn's here, and we can have Thrawn in this section of the story.
I've also heard a rumor that the pirate from season 3 of The Mandalorian is going to be the bad guy in Skeleton Crew.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That's a cool way to introduce that.
Yep.
To conclude that quote from Filoni, he adds, I think that the reality of there being a big event in this time period is very real, is all I would say to that. But yes, if John wanted to keep making the Mandalorian stories, as long as he does not get bumped off and said Titanic event, then they, I suppose, could continue. So I think he means like the Mandalorian dies in this event,
Mm-hmm.
and then Jon Favreau has nothing else to do.
Right.
There doesn't seem to be any lack of interest in Grogu and Mandalorian, that's for sure. So sounds like it's a very real possibility.
Yeah, we can get into my thoughts on the Mandalorian here in a minute. But,
yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Sergeant and Mr. Smith, you're gonna love this house.
Bunk beds in a closet?
There's no field manual for finding the right home. But when you do, USAA Homeowners Insurance can help protect it the right way. Restrictions apply.
Achieve clean, healthy-looking skin with Youth to the People. The 20-time award-winning superfood cleanser gently deep cleanses and removes makeup and SPF in 30 seconds. For skin that's hydrated, balanced, and soothed, never stripped. It's the green juice cleanse for your face, formulated with good-for-you antioxidants like kale, spinach, and multivitamins to respect your barrier. No disruption. Find out why one cleanser is sold every minute in the U.S. Shop now at Sephora.
No,
what's your thoughts?
Well, just the way that I think the last episode with the way Bo-Katan is her arc, she's becoming more of a main character with her joining the Night's Watch, not the Night's Watch,
Children of the Watch.
Children of the Watch, and I think with her seeing the mythosaur, it's opening now her instead of Din becoming more like Bo, I think Bo's going to become more like Din, and she's going to end up ruling, and she's going to end up going on a totally different path than what we were expecting. And I have a feeling that the Mandalorian show is going to go in a different direction next season, and because it already is. I mean, not that it already is, but I think they're trying to wean us off of Mandalorian and Baby Yoda and Grogu a little bit.
Yeah, no, I would point back to what I just said with Dave Filoni saying there's plenty of love for the Mandalorian and Grogu, so that train's gonna keep on trucking.
Oh, I think so.
I don't think it's gonna morph into anything else. I think it's the Mandalorian and Grogu. Look at what happened to Mandalorian at Disney parks. He got swarmed.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's gonna change. I think they're gonna continue with the Mandalorian and Grogu.
Well, maybe we'll get a third show.
I could see a spinoff. Show. And I would love to see a Bo-Katan show. I just don't think they're going to push Mandalorian aside anytime soon. Din.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. It is a money train, but I also think that they're putting Bo-Katan, scooting her up and building her up just for something.
I agree.
They're spending too much time on Bo-Katan the last 3 or 4 episodes, or especially the last one. With her seeing the mythosaur, and that something's going to happen with that character.
Well, let's get into the convert, because what you're talking about with Bo-Katan, I think it wraps up at the end of the show.
Yes.
Where that's all headed. So let's talk about the show real quick. Before I start, what were your thoughts of Chapter 19, The Convert, directed by Lee Isaac Chung and written by Jon Favreau and Noah Clore?
I tuned in for a episode of Mandalorian, and Andor showed up. Is that a
bad thing?
Not necessarily. I think it's a bad thing in the fact that you were wanting the Mandalorian story to be pushed forward, and we've got a little bit of that, but we didn't get the push that we were wanting. Then that would be my answer. I think everybody's wanting to see because we're a hurry up and give it to me society. Yeah. And we don't, the storytelling, I think in the last episode was really good, but we want to see Din Djarin and Baby Yoda is what everybody's seeing, or let's see the Mandalorians. Let's see that storyline push forward. I don't care what happens to the clone doctor, and he's showing you the clone doctor. Maybe it's a way to teach us patience. I don't know, but I really enjoyed it from a storytelling line, because it was one of those shows where it's like, put down the phone and pay attention.
Yeah, I agree. The first time I watched it, I was like, what is this? Mm-hmm. This is interesting. The second time I watched it to take notes for this episode of our podcast, I fell in love with it.
Yeah,
I was like, this is amazing, because in the Return of the Jedi, Mon Mothma is a tertiary character who's got 5 minutes of screen time, you can't explore her background, her relationships, like none of that stuff. She's just there and then she's gone. She serves her purpose to serve the Skywalker saga. In a 12 episode, 1 hour show, you're able to take a deep breath. You're able to explore her interpersonal relationships with her family. You're able to see her maneuver the rebellion through monetary actions. Like you're able to take your time and see things that you normally wouldn't see because Luke Skywalker's too busy waving his lightsaber.
Right.
And so this was like a deep breath. This is just like one of the best of like EU novels. However, it did feel like halfway through reading the novel, I just threw it across the room and I never got back to it. Like it was a great novel. I read half of it, but I don't know where it's going. I don't know where it is. I don't know if I'm ever going to come back to it.
Right. Yeah. We got to be coming back to it because I really think they are setting something up to explain the saga, the sequel saga.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, they left it on a little bit of a cliffhanger. And they need to button that up. We need to figure out what her deal is with is she working for the Empire, as a mole? Was that her whole job was to, are we going to go, let's just talk about it because we don't have a whole lot of time because you got to go. We don't need to go punch by punch on this.
Let's do high level.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's start at the beginning.
Yes.
Is that all right?
Yeah, let's do that.
So we leave off exactly where the last episode left off with Bo-Katan kind of staring into the water and looking into it, probably in disbelief. She's doing helmet acting. You as the viewer are inserting your thoughts into what the character's seeing because you have no cues as to what her face is saying. She's just staring into the water. So we're just assuming that she's flabbergasted by seeing Mythosaur. She does mention that it was a shallow pool. It's been opened up probably because of the bombing. Mm-hmm. She asked Din if he's seen anything. He said he hasn't. So she's holding on to a secret now that there's a Mythosaur in there. We still don't get an answer as to how he fell in. Is there a baby Mythosaur? Did the steps kind of just abruptly end and Beskar armor is just too heavy and he just fell to the depths? He has no way to propel himself back up.
That's what I think truly happened. I think Din Djarin, they're kind of I would listen to another podcast and they're like, Din Djarin's just becoming an idiot. Or, because Din Djarin versus Bo-Katan, and, Bo-Katan is just very confident and, doesn't take any shit. And then Din Djarin, when he wants to be but they're not building him up to be a hero. They're not really building him up to be a hero, but they're showing his flaws. And he's got a lot of flaws.
Yeah, now that you mention it, it's like Din Djarin is only good at one thing, being a bounty hunter.
Yeah.
Everything else, he sucks.
Yep.
He's not in a position to lead the Mandalorians.
Correct.
Back on the gauntlet, now this is interesting. Bo asked Din if he would like to stay for a feast. But she kind of guesses that the helmet's not coming off anytime soon. To which Din says, "This is the way." And then Bo-Katan just kind of, "Yep, this is the way." Mm-hmm. And then Grogu kind of mumbles something to himself. We're not sure if he's trying to say this is the way or not, but it seems like he's trying. And it both I combined them. This is the new Benifer. Both Bo-Katan and Din have taken notice that he's trying to say something, but before they can do anything, TIE interceptors come in. The best kind of TIE fighter, the TIE interceptor.
Yeah. They're
flying through. They're racing to get to the N1. I thought this was an awesome scene. Din gets on the guns. He's shooting these things. He mentions that TIE interceptors are more difficult to take down than regular TIE fighters, which I'm like, yes, go TIE interceptors. They just look cool. And then there's a really cool scene where, Grogu jumps into his pram. He closes down. He's getting ready for battle mode. And then Din Djarin jumps from the drop underneath the gauntlet, and he's just flying down to the landing pad. And TIE interceptors are like flying around them. They're almost going to hit him. There's a TIE interceptor closing in on the N1, and he lands. He jumps in. He takes off before that TIE interceptor could take him out. He flies straight up into the air. He does a Batman thing from the original Batman movie where he flies as high as he could go. And then he just cuts engines, turns down, and he flies in, and he takes out that TIE interceptor. And I thought this whole scene was cool. There's a classic Star Wars line where Bo-Katan is flying the cliffs of the moon and R5 is freaking out. And Bo says, "Don't worry, I grew up on these cliffs," meaning like she's an expert flyer. Then her wing touches one of the sides of the cliff and she says, "Of course, it's been a while."
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's a classic line.
I want to go back to Din Djarin's landing, and this is why people are saying that they're building him up to be, just I'm only good at bounty hunting. He should have he missed that landing, and people are like reading into it. Oh, look, he could have had this really awesome superhero landing, but they chose to make him miss it and roll. So that's why people are trying to build him up like he's only good at one thing, like you were saying, bounty hunting.
Yeah, and I go back to like some of the best action movies, Die Hard, Mission Impossible 4. I specifically call the fourth one out because nothing ever goes right. It all goes wrong. And I think that just adds to the drama.
Okay.
But what do I know?
We're just a couple of idiot podcasters.
We're just amateurs trying our best.
Yes.
So Mando does his best. He destroys most of the TIE fighters. Bo-Katan kills that last one by doing a spin move where she uses the drag of her ship to flip the ship around.
That was amazing.
To take out the interceptor. And then the ship starts falling down. And so there's the reverse G's working on the ship, and R5 starts floating up, and she kicks in the afterburners and they take off, and then R5 slams down and starts being dragged back.
Did you notice she was coming out of her seat too at that moment?
Yeah. And then we see some smoke on the horizon. There's some TIE bombers that are blowing up her palace. She says those mud scuffers bombed my home. So we have another curse word, mud scuffers. Bo-Katan is in hot pursuit. She takes out one of the bombers, and then in the mist, like a dozen TIE interceptors emerge. They take off into space, but before that, she says there's a lot of ships for a warlord. I'm assuming that this is Moff Gideon, who wants revenge for what happened on that last episode of season 2, The Rescue. He's out for revenge. He's going to destroy her home. He's trying to destroy her. He's coming back for revenge. There was a line in the first episode that he's suffering from a war tribunal.
Right.
He's going to war. And then the next episode, they said he escaped.
This episode, they said he escaped.
Okay. So they're setting up that he's in this, and there's rumors as to where he is, and nobody knows exactly sure where he is. I'm pretty sure he's back. He wants revenge. He's doing two things: seeking revenge for what happened to him and trying to fulfill his original mission of cloning someone.
Right.
So we cut to Coruscant, and this is where I think the episode takes a left turn, and it's great. We're back.
I love seeing Coruscant. So from that point, it was really cool. Because it's a crazy, that planet, when you think about it, is like built on top of it, and it's crazy seeing that planet.
Yeah, and it was crazy going back to an exact location of Revenge of the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
That opera hall where we saw that opera of I think they're Mon Calamari doing their ballet.
Oh,
and the water bubbles, and that's where Sidious does. Have I ever told you the?
Have you ever heard the story of Plagueis the Wise?
Plagueis the Wise. That whole thing went down in the same hall.
Oh, nice.
But here we see Dr. Penn Pershing talking about the amnesty program. So he's catching us up to date as to what's gone on with him. He's getting a second chance. He's thanking everybody for that opportunity. His research, he admits, was cruel and inhumane. An individual intent on using cloning technology to secure more power for himself. That's what his goal was, or that's what his research was leading towards. He regrets what he did, and despite the original intention being good, he kind of says, he admits that he lost his mother, her heart gave out, and he vowed to help others so they would never suffer for that loss. On the Camoans' work, which straightforward cloned a DNA strand, he wanted to incorporate different attributes from a donor. So that's where Grogu's blood comes from. He was trying to take the force sensitivity from that and insert it in with maybe Snoke and is just trying to create something new for the Emperor, I would assume, to get into.
Yeah.
There's a reception afterwards. We see, I'm not getting the high points there, am I? But I thought that was interesting, the pompous people afterwards kind of congratulating him, saying how wonderful they are in a matter of way. I thought the Mon Calamari really did well for themselves after the destruction of they're everywhere.
Right.
They're scientists, they're in the high life, they're
yeah, they really are, because there was a Mon Calamari scientist at the back at the end of the episode.
Yeah. They've done really well for themselves.
I really think this whole episode was a way of saying, like, it doesn't matter that because the way they filmed it, it felt to me that it doesn't matter who's in charge. It's still going to be the same.
Yeah, from the point of view of the elite in the galaxy, absolutely. They're still making money despite who's running.
Right.
They don't care. Empire, Rebels, New Republic, we still have billions of dollars.
Right.
Billions of credits. This is where it gets cool because Pershing goes to Amnesty housing. He's catered by an Uber that looks just like McQuarrie's original C-3PO drawing.
Yeah.
And he's invited to come over with other officers for a drink. He introduces himself as Amnesty Scientist L-52. G-68 is a familiar face. It's Elia Kane, the communication officer from Moff Gideon's ship, and this troubles Pershing. I just want to... Do I want to talk about this right now? Because this is one of the high points. We'll get to it then.
Okay.
I'm trying to look through my notes and skip some of this.
Yeah, we don't need to go blow by blow on this one because it's pretty straightforward.
They talk about Bendu Day. Some, the Monument Plaza is what I want to talk about.
Right.
Some of early McQuarrie's artwork. A magician is doing some close-up magic. Kane says there's trillions of residents on the planet. Pershing says it makes him feel insignificant. Kane says she was trained on Coruscant. They thought they were doing good. Pershing says he was too. He thought he was doing good. He was so close to breakthroughs, which could have done really good. So this whole episode for Pershing is about his intent to do good, the perversion by the Empire, the lack of what's the word I'm looking for? Success, not success, but the lack that he was near success. He never achieved it. He could have done some really, really good. Kane introduces the thought, following orders blindly is foolish, even if it's the Empire or if it's the New Republic. Just following these orders blindly, maybe you could do some good. You should trust your gut. So after this conversation between the two about trusting your gut, we hear the rise of resistance, the march of resistance from the Force Awakens music. It's in the background. It's like a carnival. So I'm like, what's the connection there? This is something Rusciano pointed out in the chat.
Yeah, I'm going to let you get into it a little bit more, but keep going. I don't know, man. Go for it.
Are they saying that he's resisting the New Republic, or this is the start of the First Order and the resistance is going to be there?
Yeah. I felt like what I was alluding to earlier is it also felt because they are, instead of using names, they're using numbers, and then you see them when he's in his cubicles. It's the same feel as Andor. It even feels like when they're in their apartments, it's the same apartments as Andor.
Yeah, I didn't really take my notes here. My notes are blow by blow. It's not the high level, so that's why I'm skipping a little bit here. But let me go down to this one section. So his name now is L-52. It's no longer Penn Pershing.
Right.
It's the exact same thing the First Order did to stormtroopers. Yep. Finn was actually named FN-2187. These are people who don't have names. Essentially, Pershing is a space Nazi who did horrible atrocities across the galaxy. You don't want somebody like that in your New Republic, but the New Republic is supposed to be different than the Empire. And they even mentioned the Empire would have done worse. They would have killed us.
Right.
And so this amnesty program has stripped and deprogrammed the person out of that Imperial officer. So they are essentially droids, and it's interesting because have you ever seen Blade Runner?
I have, but
I hate.
Shoot, I saw Blade Runner, the second one. I don't think I've ever saw the first one.
Yeah, so essentially there's replicants, which are humans, but they're droids. They're not humans.
Mm-hmm.
They look just like humans. They experience humanity. They experience feelings and all that. But there's Blade Runners who go out and retire the ones that act bad. And they have this whole test where they ask them questions. And during that whole thing, they determine if it's a replicant or not. And should this person be retired, which is essentially kill the droid. They kind of have the same thing. Even Pershing at one point goes out that whole train sequence, he's wearing Rick Deckard's jacket from Blade Runner. It's got the pop collar. It's got the lines in it. It's just like he's doing his best cosplay there of Rick Deckard. But this whole droid sequence where the droid is asking him questions, it's almost the same thing from Blade Runner where they're asking the droids, the replicants, are you still, do you feel resentment for the Empire? Do you feel this? They're just making sure that the program is still inside of L-52, that he hasn't recaptured his humanity.
Right.
That's a lot of talking.
But
that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense because it did feel like I keep saying, it feels like the New Republic is no different than the Empire when it comes to these people.
Yep. And when we cut back to him working, there was a couple scenes like you just mentioned him working. The last time he's depressed, he's repressed. He doesn't feel like himself. He's just going through the motions. He resents the fact that he can't do work. There's that last scene where he's saying, hey, this technology could be used for good. It's the imperial technology. We could use this for the betterment of the New Republic. And the New Republic's like, no, just delete it. We don't need it.
Right.
And so that piece of equipment is exactly how he's feeling symbolically. He feels like he's old equipment that's going to be retired and destroyed. He's not being used to its full potential, even though it could be used for the good of the entire system.
Right.
And that's when...
Check out the big brain on Jason.
Well, I love this episode. It's all connected, and this is why I fell in love with it. So we go back to that interview with the droid real quick, and he clarifies with the droid because he's starting to feel like this is ridiculous. I could be doing good. He says to the droid, our main objective is to help the New Republic. And the droid says, yes. And he says, this supersedes everything else. The droid says, it does. So Pershing interprets this as to do good for the New Republic, I have to do something bad because our first objective is to do good for the New Republic.
Right.
So that's why he decides I need to go get cloning equipment for my original mission because I could do good for this thing and they're not seeing my value. Okay, moving on.
No. I get it. I'm sorry. I don't really have anything to add there, but you're right. I never thought about it that way, where he is considering himself to that equipment. But it did seem to me, it's like you guys are hurting for stuff and you're going to just destroy it. Like they were destroying the Republic fleet. It's like, why, man? Just hold on to it. But then I also read an article that sort of, they're pushing towards peace. And that's their way to push towards peace is by getting rid of the war machine.
Yes. Yes. There was one of the books leading up to The Force Awakens where they were talking about how they decommissioned the rebellion fleet, the New Republic fleet, because of the whole peace thing. We don't need war. We don't need machines. And so when Leia comes back and says the First Order is a real threat, they're all like, no, it's not. And that's why they don't have any ships during the First Order fight, The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker, because they never prepared for this. They decommissioned the entire fleet.
Right.
So there's the whole train sequence. That's where we get Tong's Day. I thought that was kind of funny. Another classic line. When they're jumping from train to train, the first train they jump into, everyone's looking at them like, what's going on? And Pershing tries to mimic what Kane had done before, Tong's Day, right? And she says, we're going to work on that because it fell like a lead balloon or something like that.
Yeah.
It didn't go over well. And so I was just like, that's another classic Star Wars line. That felt like the original trilogy. Mm-hmm. They travel through the tunnels. I believe it's the same tunnels from Attack of the Clones.
Oh,
Where's the whole chase sequence with Zam Wessel when they were in the speeders? Yeah, they go into a tunnel system, and I don't know if it's the exact same tunnel, but it's very similar.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, is that the meme from
hey, there was a lot of that in this episode though too, because like all the data cards, the first data card when he's going through data cards is the same one that Jyn Erso has in
yeah.
It'd
be funny if he deleted the Death Star plans.
Yeah.
Anyways, they conveniently jump onto a pad of mattresses when they jump off the train.
It's like, oh man, yeah.
They sneak onto a Star Destroyer, and Kane apologizes for never introducing herself, so she does so. She tries to make him feel like a friend. They kind of have a laugh. They navigate to the lab. Now, this is where the excellent directing comes in. Pershing said he could never believe that he was actually in the lab when he first got there because it was his dream, and he was kind of like pinching himself when he first got there. And then Pershing asked Kane what she wanted to be when she grew up, and her face is in shadow. Did you catch that?
No.
Yeah, her face is in shadow. It's very obscured, and she just says, I didn't really have a chance to think about it. Oh. So she, from day one, became an imperial.
Yeah.
And I don't think she ever left.
No, I think she's still there. I think that's why the stuff happens at the end.
But then he grabs everything he needs. They leave. They go out into the hallways of the Imperial Star Destroyer, and they start seeing shadows and light, and they know that they're being followed, so they quickly run out. And they come out and they say, hey, L52, raise your hands, you're under arrest. And Kane steps out. She grabs the box of materials and walks away, totally setting Pershing up. Pershing wakes up in a lab, and we hear remix music from Max Rebo's band from Return of the Jedi, which I love because it's just classic original trilogy stuff. And it's a deep cut. I think that music is lost. I think they lost that music in the 80s, the original track. So it seemed a little bit different. Mon Calamari comes out and says that G68 has already submitted a report on the incident, meaning that they don't really care to hear L52 side of the story. They trust Kane more than they trust Pershing. Pershing says that the machine that they're connecting him to is a mind flare, which made my son laugh out loud because that's mind flares from Dungeons and Dragons, but it was also recycled, and it's the main villain in Stranger Things. So he got a kick out of that.
Well, isn't that what they were using in Rogue One too? That whatever that
Or Gullet.
Saul Guerrero had?
Or Gullet.
Yeah. Okay. So it's the same. All right.
But this machine is supposed to be non-invasive. It's approved for rehabilitation. He's just going to see colors, hear buzzing, and feel relief in no time. Pershing is afraid. He knows better. I laughed out loud when Pershing says to the Mon Calamari, it was a trap. It's like, I mean, like, it doesn't get better than that. You're telling a Mon Calamari what's a trap now. He's trying to tell Pershing's trying to tell everyone that Kane set him up. And then he's just looking at her saying, why did you set me up? They hook him to the machine. This is kind of interesting. She says, I'm just going to stay behind. She turns up the power when everyone leaves to really hit him hard with this thing that they're rehabilitating him with, quote unquote. And she's essentially sipping her tea as she's doing this. She's biting away from his favorite snack, the snack that she got to bring to him to help him trust her more and to entrap him in this whole thing. She's just eating the snack like she's just sipping on her tea,
right.
Whatever.
She's a cold-hearted bitch.
Yeah, so before we leave this and we cut back to the end of the episode, the question with Kane is, is she a spy? Did she kill the original G68? If they're just numbers and they're not names, did she infiltrate Amnesty housing to kill that person and become G68 just to get Pershing to come back to the Empire and deprogram him and help him with the cloning technology again?
I didn't think of it that far. I didn't think that she would have gone that far as to kill somebody, but I didn't. I assumed, because when she cranked that thing up, I assumed it was going back even further and wiping his brain completely to where he's not going to remember anything. As far as like cloning, even down to the cloning, but maybe that is, and maybe she'll get him back to the Empire. But if she really wanted to get him back to the Empire, why wouldn't they have just sort of ran away instead of going through the whole
because
steps?
He's been programmed to obey, essentially.
Okay.
You do what the New Republic says, you do the right thing, you're not part of that thing anymore. This is who you now. So and he had trepidation about going to the imperial junkyard. He was just not sure about doing that. So I think it would have been too much of a step to get off planet for him.
Okay.
And so maybe she's deprogramming him. She's turning up the intensity to remove everything the New Republic is inserted into his brain. Or maybe because he's always been like that nerdy, introverted, I don't like violence. Maybe this thing will make him turn around and just be like, I'm a bad guy now. I don't care. I'm going to get off planet. I'm going to clone everything. You just watch me.
Maybe. I didn't. Yeah. I thought she was wiping his brain out completely, but maybe she is trying to reprogram him to get into the Empire, because it definitely feels like they're trying to explain cloning to us and how Snoke got here in The Mandalorian.
Yeah. So who is the convert? It could be referring to Pershing being converted over to the New Republic way of thinking. It could be Kane deprogramming him and converting him back to the Imperial stuff. It could be the Mandalorian who's been converted in the eyes of the Mandalorians. Din has been converted. It could be Bo-Katan who's been converted over to the ways of the Children of the Watch because she's been converted. She's been into the living waters and she hasn't removed her mask yet. So I thought the title itself was on point because it was generic enough to be anybody, and it applies to a lot of the main characters.
Yeah, it could be all three.
So real quick, let's just finish this up because I'm over the 60-minute limit here. We cut back to Bo and Mando coming back from space. They land on the rocky planet we saw in episode 1 or chapter 17 when they're fighting the giant alligator monster. And coming right out is Paz Vizsla, who's just like throwing up every roadblock. You don't belong here. You didn't do this. He's very resistant about them coming back into their coven. Is that what they call themselves? Coven?
Yeah, they call themselves a coven.
And so they go back and he's not in charge. He's the armorer's in charge. He's like, so we shall see if you're actually Mandalorian again. So they go back in. They offer the proof of the living water. She puts it into her quelching pool. That's where you strengthen the armor in the water. Adding the living waters does something to the Beskar. I don't know what it is. Maybe makes it impenetrable. Makes it as strong as it is. But anyway, she says, yeah, they've been there. They're part of the covenant again. Everybody welcomes Bo-Katan. She hasn't removed her helmet. She's welcome to stay for as long as she wants. Obviously, if she removes her helmet, she's no longer part of the group. I would assume she can leave on her own as long as she doesn't remove the helmet. She's still part of that group. We do see at the end of the episode, Paz Vizsla is in shadows while everyone's congratulating Bo and Din for returning. Paz is in the shadows. He's not happy.
No.
Bo-Katan notices the mythosaur skull on the wall, which to me means that she's reaching for something bigger. She still wants to be the leader of the Mandalorians. She's been alone for so long, so maybe she's welcoming being back in this covenant because she's surrounded by her people now, the Mandalorians. But we had talked about at the beginning about the Mandalorians in infighting and where this is leading towards. Bo-Katan in the last episode was talking about all the infighting and how it's weakened them. And then here you've got Paz Vizsla watching them, not happy that Bo-Katan from Clan Kryze is back. So that's just setting up more infighting. And I think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, because you remember he was not happy that Din Djarin had the Darksaber because he's Vizsla, and pre-Vizsla was the one that had it. So his line, his clan is the one that had the Darksaber originally. But yeah, I have a feeling that Bo-Katan's gonna meet, because there's also a rumor that there's chatter that she technically owns the Darksaber now because Din Djarin was disarmed, and then she got it back when he was in the captured by that thing. So will her and Din get it, or will she bring that up? There's the whole mythosaur thing that a Mandalorian's going to ride that into a new age of Mandalore. There's a lot going on with that one thing. Is her and Din going to start a romantic relationship? Because people are talking about that too. Because she's, all of a sudden, is she falling in love with Din Djarin? What's going to happen?
I thought that in the last episode, but this one makes me think she's more ambitious than in love. She wants to go back to the top.
Yeah, that's what I think her end game is she wants the Darksaber and she wants to rule Mandalore. And I totally think that's going to happen. I'm really curious now where this season's going to go, because they wrapped up a lot of stuff in 3 episodes. Yeah. As far as like the living waters and all that, because people were like, man, it could take him 8 episodes to get there, and he was there in 3.
Yeah. Yep. It's moved a lot real fast, like you're saying. And I'm also looking forward to what executive producer Rick Famuyiwa was saying with the big icons coming. Mm-hmm. And he says it really opens up after, episode 3 of this season. So we've hit episode 3. Like, what happens?
Ooh. Yeah, I'm curious, man. They could, I don't know, man.
I mean, it could very well be that the warlord that they were hinting at is not Gideon. It is Thrawn. And if they're filming, I was afraid to say it because take your imagination.
Don't mess with my headcanon, man. I know,
but if they're filming, Ahsoka, it could have just been a 3-second shot of Thrawn sitting in the chair, just, bring him to me or something like that. And or capture the castle or something like that, and it's easy to insert that into this season as a tease for Ahsoka.
Right. I don't think they're going to introduce Thrawn in this season. And I think you're more going to see, you're definitely going to see Ahsoka, and then it's a toss up between Hera and Sabine, I think. I really do, man. Don't laugh at me, man. I know you're going to see Ahsoka because Ahsoka was at the previews. I mean, Rosario Dawson was at the.
Was she?
Yeah, she was at the premiere.
I didn't realize that.
It was she wasn't with the group, but there was like pictures of her at the premiere, and she was like, "I can't wait to see what this season brings." So it's like, what are you doing, Rosario? So yeah, I think it's going to be a toss-up. I don't think we're going to see Thrawn. I don't think we're going to see Ezra. We already saw the space whales. I think there's too big a story to tell in Ahsoka to tease Thrawn right now, because you got to figure out how they find him.
But to counterpoint you real quick, I think Thrawn has already been introduced when they mentioned his name last season.
Okay.
So he's already been teased.
Okay.
The tease. Sorry, I didn't mean to shut you down.
No, I'm sorry. No, you're right. No, I
just think the tease has been done, so the next step is a visual.
That would be amazing, but yeah, I don't want them to book a Boba Fett Thrawn being introduced. And what I mean by that is, sorry, you just looked down the little hole of your coffee cup and took me.
No, I want to make sure I get all the chocolate. Sometimes the chocolate in the mocha gets stuck at the bottom, and then you finish the coffee and you realize that there's like a chunk of chocolate, and I'm like, why did I pay for chocolate if the chocolate's at the bottom and I can't get to it?
Crap. But anyway, I don't want to book a Boba Fetting Thrawn coming into this, where all of a sudden there's this big buildup, and so what's going to happen with Baby Yoda and the Mandalorian, and there's a battle, and then there comes Baby Yoda in a freaking X-wing. And he's back with Boba Fett, back with Mandalorian in 2 seconds in the middle of a battle. Maybe it will. Dude, I'm too. And then there's other scenes where you're seeing, the Mandalorians drop out of the gauntlet or out of a spaceship into battle. So, and then you kind of saw that you can kind of put 2 and 2 together and be like, that's the gauntlet.
Yeah.
So it's like these guys are getting ready to go into battle.
I'm excited. I like maybe now that Bo-Katan's part of there, they're like, let's go back and hit back on the Mandalore is a viable place to live. Our planet was attacked. Let's go back and attack the Empire for destroying my castle.
But yeah, I think, you're right. That is what's going to happen totally. And I do think it's Moff Gideon. I don't think anybody else would have gone after her. I don't think the Empire would have gone after her like that. It's got to be Moff Gideon because they're hinting at him. They're like, oh, he's dressed as a Mandalorian. He's got Mandalorian style armor this season, or a helmet or something. So it had to have been Moff Gideon bringing that attack. So I think we'll see him, if not this episode, in the next episode.
It'd be an interesting turn. Sorry, you just mentioned him in armor. If he is a Mandalorian,
yeah,
and he was just pulled into the Empire, but he had the Darksaber, so maybe that's how he got it. Is that he's true blood Mandalorian, and he's just working for the Empire.
That would be interesting because you have no clue how he defeated Bo-Katan to get the Darksaber, or how you have no clue how Bo-Katan lost the Darksaber and Moff Gideon got it. So that's a totally other story we could tell in this. In the Mandalorian.
I'm excited about this season. I was hesitant after Book of Boba. You keep looking out your window.
I keep looking. I got
where's my Wampa?
Where's my Wampa?
I'm excited after the Book of Boba
It's
Fett.
just the mail. I hear the mail. I'm sorry.
And some of the it's fine. And some of the lackluster episodes and the lackluster writing and some of the inconsistencies. I was just like, is Jon Favreau burnt out? Mm-hmm. Is the quality kind of diminishing because he's spread too thin? But this is kind of giving me faith that no, they're doing the right thing. They brought in a new writer. I really enjoyed this episode. I've enjoyed the past 2 episodes. I'm just having fun watching it. So it's good stuff, in my opinion.
Yeah, just remember it's you don't overthink stuff, man. And that's what
enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride. And Jon Favreau or Dave Filoni, they know what they're doing. I'm still trying to figure out Bad Batch, but I think finally we know where that's going. I know we got to go, but just enjoy the ride. And I hope that at least it's a better season than Bad Batch has been.
Yep. We don't have anything new for the community board this week, but the Georgia Alliance of Star Wars Collectors is hosting again its first toy show on Saturday, May 13th from 11 to 4 at Second Chance Toys and Collectibles. This toy show is to benefit the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. We have plenty of vendors to shop from. This has, again, been approved by the 501st for an event they could participate in. 100% of our raffle proceeds will go to the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. We'll also be accepting donations if you don't want to wait around for the raffle and just drop something in to help with that organization. CHOA is a not-for-profit children's healthcare system dedicated for caring for infants, children, teens, and young adults ages 0 through 21 throughout the state of Georgia.
Right. And don't forget Toylanta the 24th through the 26th.
Oh, yeah, that's next weekend.
Yeah, next weekend.
Or this weekend, depending on your point of view.
So stop by and see us. We'll be around. We'll be around all weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for listening to the Smugglers Galaxy podcast. If you could, please leave a like and a 5-star review of the show anywhere you listen to podcasts, if it's allowed. It really helps us out and points people to our show. Follow us on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Send us an email or message us. We love feedback, and we'd love to make you part of our show. Our email address is smugglersgalaxy@gmail.com. Thank you to Alfonso Riviera for the Smugglers Galaxy logo. You could find him at Rock the Force Podcast. And thank you to Levi Waterhouse for the music. Hasbro re-release VC66. Hashtag vote with your wallet. Pass on what you've learned. Be a positive force in the collecting community. This is the way.
This is the way.